Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom, and today is the third and final day of our literature unit for the month of November. And we're talking about a young reader's novel, which you might consider reading yourself. It's called The Fault in Our Stars by the American author
John Green.
I was going to say Graham Greene, but that's another writer. John Green, okay? And, of course, he's written all sorts of other novels looking for Alaska, The Fault in Our Stars, of course, An Abundance of Catherines, Paper Towns, and Paper Towns, of course, was also made into a film.
Yeah, it was. I think it came out in 2015. It wasn't quite as well-reviewed, well-received as The Fault in Our Stars, but you might want to check that out. So today, as we always do, we're going to focus in on some of the themes, the messages in the book, The Fault in Our Stars, and see if you agree with it. If you've read it before, if you've read the novel, you might be interested to see if what you felt the book was trying to communicate is similar to what we think the themes are in the book. So stay tuned. We're going to read through today's lesson, and then we'll be back to talk about it.
Like many young adult novels, The Fault in Our Stars is a coming-of-age story. Gus and Hazel do normal teenage activities, such as playing video games and going to school, eventually falling in love and starting a romantic relationship as they go. Hazel even sarcastically jokes with her parents about buying her a fake ID so she can drink alcohol like a normal teenager. However, their journey to adulthood is complicated by their illnesses, since the threat of death is ever present in their lives. Hazel and Gus's cancers force them to develop emotional maturity sooner and more deeply than most of their peers. The effects of their illnesses constantly remind Hazel and Gus that they are different from healthy people. Hazel's oxygen tank and Gus's prosthetic leg visually indicate that they are battling illness, and sometimes these physical differences make other people feel uncomfortable. However, the two characters try to dispel the idea that teenagers with cancer are nobler or braver than others. They're just normal teens who happen to look a bit different due to illness. The theme of mortality is present throughout the story. Hazel's inner conflicts, in particular, result from the sense that she can't get too close to Gus because of her illness, which could worsen at any time. She refers to herself as a grenade because she will likely die of cancer in the near future, thereby devastating her family and everyone else she's close to. Gus, meanwhile, is depressed by the thought that he'll die before he can accomplish something great in his life. In the end, though, both Gus and Hazel accept the certainty of death and try to get the most out of life while they still can.
So, like many young adult novels, The Fault in Our Stars is a coming-of-age story. A coming-of-age story is kind of a genre in literature or movies, and it talks about kids moving from childhood to adulthood. Typically, they're either 11, 12, 13, the preteens, and what they learn changes their lives. They go from being children to adults, and usually they go through a learning process. Coming-of-age films or books involve more psychological issues and communication, dialogue that takes place instead of action. They're usually not blowing up houses and driving fast cars. It's something that the kids go through that changes them into adults. They learn a lot. Hopefully, they grow and they become more mature, and it helps them. So this is a coming-of-age story. Often, if you're reading teen novels, they're typically really, most of them are coming-of-age stories, unless it's something like, an action novel or, or science fiction or something. But coming-of-age stories are very popular for
they certainly are.
That age group, right? Yeah.
Yep, for that age group, indeed. And Gus and Hazel do normal teenage activities, such as playing video games and going to school, eventually falling in love and starting a romantic relationship as they go. This, of course, does happen to a lot of teenagers when they're going to high school. And, of course, they're doing normal teenage activities. For example, playing video games.
Yeah.
Maybe they go down to the video game parlor, but you don't really see those so much anymore. People nowadays play video games on their phones, pretty much. But, sometimes people get together and play games, even though they're, on different phones and playing different games.
Or they might be playing on their Xbox,
Could be, yep. Or PlayStation or whatever. And they're also going to school. They have their groups of friends. They have school gossip. They join the school clubs. They go out for sports and stuff like that. And they eventually, of course, fall in love. And, of course, that's, puppy love there. Teenagers falling in love. And then they start a romantic relationship. But they do this as they go, okay? Like a lot of relationships, it just kind of gradually becomes romantic. They start off as friends, and neither of them are thinking about the other in that way. But eventually, maybe something happens. Maybe they accidentally touch hands together or something like that. Or they're alone together in a certain place, and they kind of look at each other, and they both kind of wink at each other, and maybe he said, "Hey, I've had feelings for you a long time." "Oh, I felt the same way," or something like that. And they eventually fall in love, but they do this gradually as they go, as they continue with their normal daily activities.
Now, Hazel even jokes with her parents, sarcastically, of course, that, they should buy her a fake ID. Fake identification so that she can drink alcohol like a normal teenager. I don't hear a lot of sarcasm in Taiwan, but if someone's sarcastic, it just means they're making remarks that are meant to hurt someone's feelings, or they're criticizing somebody in a funny way. But typically, it's kind of, they're mocking someone, you could say. It's often the opposite of what they're saying. But listen to the tone. In order to understand if someone's being sarcastic, you have to be very sensitive to the tone of their voice. That's why at work, people are told don't ever write sarcastic emails because the person might take it wrong. They can't see that you're kind of laughing or, but be careful with sarcasm, especially at work. I have a couple friends who are really sarcastic. I find it funny, but not everyone does.
You got to be careful with it in Taiwan, especially if you're American, because we like to be sarcastic.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Sometimes people here, take you literally and think you're insulting them or something. So this is more advice for Americans. Watch it with the sarcasm here in Taiwan. But in any case, she's sick. She's got cancer, so she can't possibly drink alcohol. So she sarcastically jokes with her parents, "Hey, maybe you should get me a fake ID so I can go drinking with my friends," or something like that. I should also mention that in American culture, there is an activity for young people to try to get alcoholic beverages and get drunk with your friends or something like that, even though it's against the law. And, of course, in America, the drinking age is 21, but in high school, kids are 17 or 18, and they want to have some fun, so they try to do that, and then maybe they get somebody older to buy beer for them, or they get a fake ID made somewhere. And, of course, you got to watch out because the police are always looking to arrest you. We did that a lot when I was in a small town. There was nothing else to do. But in any case, she wants to drink beer with her friends or something, even though they're not supposed to. However, their journey to adulthood is complicated by their illnesses, since the threat of death is ever present in their lives. So, like for most kids, your journey or your trip to adulthood is normal. You go through the regular growing pains, maybe your first broken heart or something like that, or when your best friend turned out to stab you in the back or something like that. Those are things that you have to experience as you become an adult. And adulthood, of course, is the period in your life in which you are an adult, and that's usually contrasted with childhood. Your childhood ends and your adulthood begins.
Yeah, your teenage years are in the middle there somewhere, but typically you should be an adult, at least by the age of 20. But their journey's complicated or made more difficult because they're facing things most kids don't have to, and that's cancer. So if something's complicated, it usually involves a lot of different and confusing parts. Things aren't just simple. Life for them hasn't been simple for quite a while, as they've both been facing cancer for a long time. They've been suffering with cancer for a long time. Hazel's had it 3 years. Gus, I'm not sure how long, but he's already had his leg removed. So life hasn't been simple or easy for them. It's been difficult and complicated because the threat of death is always there or ever present, which means it never goes away. It's always something they have to face. So Hazel and Gus's cancers force them to develop emotional maturity sooner and more deeply than most of their peers. I mentioned this in day one. Usually kids that have difficult circumstances to go through, maybe a parent passes away when they're younger, or they have to deal with something as difficult as cancer. They're a lot more mature than kids who just have life, easy for them. They don't have to deal with anything difficult. Maturity refers to the ability to meet life or cope with life with almost an adult attitude, right? You don't do things that are childish. You're acting maturely. You're doing things as if you had a lot of wisdom that you'd gained as an adult. A lot of adults aren't very mature. They act like kids, and you hear that too. But these two are pretty mature. Maturity is the noun form. If you're mature, that's the adjective form. Wow, he is so immature, which is the opposite. It's immature. He's so immature. Most guys are more immature than girls when they're the same age, but that hopefully changes as both get a little older. But they feel things more deeply than most of their peers. Your peers are the people that are in your age group. Your peers could be the people you went to school with in the same grade. Those are your peers.
Indeed. So, yes, they develop this maturity earlier. Most other teenagers are acting like kids. What's death? We don't care about that. We're just here to have some fun.
Yeah.
But here, Hazel and Gus have different realities which cause them to be more mature than their peers and the people of the same age group. Okay, that brings us to the midway point in today's lesson. Let's take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher, shall we?
Hello everyone, 欢迎收听 English Digest， 我是哈利。今天我们要阅读的文章是 Unit 11文学单元的第3天课程。在今天的文章中，我们将会了解到 The Fault in Our Stars 所要探讨的一些主题。文章的第一段提到，由于 Hazel 和 Gus 罹患癌症，两人在成长过程中比一般青少年更加成熟。我们看到第一段的倒数第二句。However, their journey to adulthood is complicated by their illnesses, since the threat of death is ever present in their lives. 然而，由于死亡的威胁始终存在于他们的生命中，因此他们的疾病使他们迈向成年的旅程变得复杂。动词 complicate 有使复杂化、使更麻烦、使恶化的意思。例如The pouring rain complicated the search for the missing boy. 这场倾盆大雨让搜索失踪男孩的行动更困难。另外 complicate 的形容词为 complicated. C-O-M-P-L-I-C-A-T-E-D 意思是复杂的，相当于 complex. C-O-M-P-L-E-X 例如It's difficult for the general public to understand the complicated tax laws. 一般大众难以了解这些复杂的税法。Complicate 的名词为 complication. C-O-M-P-L-I-C-A-T-I-O-N 有复杂并发症的意思。例如Yvonne had to stay in the hospital longer when complications arose after his surgery.当伊凡手术后出现并发症，他不得不在医院住更长的时间。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, everybody, let's continue with our lesson. Remember, we're talking about some of the themes and ideas in our featured novel, The Fault in Our Stars. And where we left off, we're talking about the fact that Hazel and Gus need to be more mature because the threat of death is ever present in their lives, even though they're trying to live their lives like normal teenagers. Well, they simply can't because they have this harsh reality of a fatal disease hanging over their shoulders. Now, the effects of their illnesses constantly remind Hazel and Gus that they are different from healthy people. So again, they've got all these issues of their illnesses, when to take their medication, and when they feel ill, and what they should do about that. They've got regular doctor's appointments. They've got all this other stuff they need to bring with them. He's got a prosthetic leg. She's got this breathing device that she needs to bring with her all the time. So even though they want to be normal like everybody else, they're constantly reminded that no, they are different from healthy people. And I suppose, normal people, their peers kind of reject them because of that.
Well, they don't know how to respond. A lot of kids are uncomfortable when they have to face their peers who are struggling with things like serious disease. So I understand. So if you're constantly doing something or constantly being reminded, it just means it happens continuously over a period of time. I'm constantly shocked at how heavy the rain can be in Taiwan very suddenly. You'd think I'd be used to it, but I just think, wow, it's coming down so hard. But the effects of their illness constantly remind Hazel and Gus that they're not normal. They're different from healthy people. Hazel has what we call an oxygen tank. You'll see this when people are on a breathing machine. They have this little thing in their nose that has oxygen coming out of it, and it's attached to a tank. Sometimes the tanks are kind of big. Sometimes they're smaller, depending on where they got their oxygen tank from. She's dealing with that, so it's always right there, in front of her. She can see the oxygen tank. And Gus has a prosthetic leg. Prosthetic means artificial. It was man-made. And those things are always visually in front of them. Visually, they indicate that they were battling illness. So visually just means something you can see. You don't have to kind of imagine it. And the people that they come in contact with, especially kids in high school, they see those things all the time and they think, oh, yeah, they're different. They're sick. And sometimes kids don't know how to respond.
Right, maybe they'll make fun of them, or they just don't know what to say.
Or ignore them, just don't say anything.
Well, I don't want to say something that will make them upset, so I'll just ignore them to be safe.
That happens a lot.
So even though you probably can't really see his artificial leg, he's probably wearing trousers, you can still tell that he has one by the way he walks.
Right.
So these things visually indicate that they are battling illness, and they make other people feel uncomfortable. Now, however, the two characters try to dispel the idea that teenagers with cancer are nobler or braver than others. They're just normal teens who happen to look a bit different due to illness. So they want to dispel this idea. If you dispel something, that means you just kind of get rid of it. You make it disappear. They don't want other teenagers to think that they're heroes or something like that. No, we're just regular folks. We're not nobler or braver than you. We just happen to be sick, And here we've got the word nobler, which is from the adjective noble. And if you're noble, that means, well, you have high principles. You've got nice, fine personal qualities. And, of course, you're always trying to do the right thing. You're very upright. You're outstanding, etc. And braver, of course, is from the adjective brave, which means you're able to face dangerous situations without being afraid. But they're saying, no, we're not nobler than you. We're not braver than you. We're just normal teenagers who just happen to be sick. People get sick from time to time. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and of course, they just want to be treated the same as their peers. The other kids, they don't want to be looked at as being different. No one wants to stick out in high high school especially. So there's the theme of mortality, and it's present throughout the story. Mortality just means you are subject to death. You will die someday. If you're mortal, that means you're going to die at some point. If you're immortal, like a vampire, you can live forever. So that's the difference. So Hazel's inner conflicts, what's going on inside herself in particular, are because she can't get too close, or she feels she can't get too close to Gus because of her illness, which could worsen at any time or deteriorate at any time. We learned that word. She just doesn't want Gus to one day have to face her death. So the closer you are to someone, the more they're going to miss you when you're gone. But that's no reason not to love people. That's what's tough. So that's what she's struggling with. She refers to herself, or calls herself, a grenade, which is a very small bomb, because she will likely die of cancer in the near future. Without warning, it happens very suddenly. A grenade, you pull out the top of it and throw it, and boom, it sets off. So that's why she calls herself a grenade. And she thinks that her death might devastate her family and her close friends. Of course it will. We always miss the people that we love when they pass away. So that's what she's struggling with. Shall I be close to them, or shall I keep my distance? But I always think that love is the best.
Yeah, I guess you should live and love, or whatever, to have lived and not love, or something. There's a phrase like that. I can't think of it right offhand, but yeah, it's better to say that you did that.
To have loved and lost than not to have loved at all. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But indeed, she's afraid that she'll blow up, in a figure of speaking, and destroy her family or devastate her family and everyone else that she's close to. Gus, meanwhile, is depressed by the thought that he'll die before he can accomplish something great in his life. So that's what he's thinking about. Maybe guys think of things that way. I need to do something in life really big to accomplish something, like start a company, or become a millionaire, or climb a really tall mountain, or sail around the world, or something like that. To accomplish something great, he wants to do that before he dies. In the end, though, both Gus and Hazel accept the certainty of death and try to get the most out of life while they still can. So here we've got the phrase to get the most out of something. That means usually in a situation that is not ideal, you try to make the best of it, okay? So maybe you could complain about something and want to change something, but a lot of other people will say, well, it's a rainy day, but we should try to make the most out of it. It's a good day to stay inside and do some reading, or clean up the house, or do some cleaning or something. Let's make the most out of this rainy day.
It doesn't have to be negative, though. You could go away to university, and your whole goal might be to get the most out of your time there. Don't waste any time. Don't waste any opportunity. Get the most out of something while you still can. So they both had really great goals there, to not waste their life chances here while they had it. Most of us waste a lot of time because we don't have to face death all the time. But if you face death, you know it's there. People don't like to waste their days, especially people who have a terminal illness. Right now, guys, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
我们接着看到第二段的第一句。The effects of their illnesses constantly remind Hazel and Gus that they are different from healthy people. 他们的疾病所带来的影响持续提醒海瑟及古斯，他们和健康的人有所不同。动词 remind 是指to tell someone again about an event from the past or about a fact that they used to know, 也就是提醒、使想起的意思。Remind 有以下几种常见用法。Remind somebody of 或 remind somebody about something 是指提醒某人某事物，使某人想起某事物。That dish reminded me of something my grandma used to cook for me. 那道菜让我想起我祖母为我煮的菜。Remind somebody to do something. 提醒某人去做什么事。Please remind me to see the dentist. I'm afraid that I will forget. 请提醒我去看牙医，我怕我会忘记。Remind somebody that 加主词加动词，提醒某人某件事，使某人想起某件事。例如 Ken reminded his son that it was time to do his homework. 肯提醒他的儿子该是写作业的时候了。文章的最后一段提到 Hazel 内心的冲突。我们看到这一段的第二句 Hazel's inner conflicts in particular result from the sense that she can't get too close to Gus because of her illness, which could worsen at any time. 因为海瑟随时会恶化的疾病，所以他觉得他和古斯的关系不能太亲密，尤其是此想法造成他内心的冲突。片语 result from 有起因于的意思，相当于 stem from stem S-T-E-M 或 arise from A-R-I-S-E。 例如 Let's talk about the issues that arose from our last meeting with the clients. 我们来谈谈起因于上次客户会议的议题。片语 result in 则是导致造成的意思，相当于 give rise to R-I-S-E 或 bring about。 例如 Heavy rain and strong winds resulted in the collapse of these buildings. 豪雨和强风导致这些建筑物倒塌。另外，本句 sense 后的 that 子句是名词子句，其后接一完整句子，作为 sense 的同位语，说明是怎样的 sense。相同的用法我们可以看到最后一段的倒数第二句。Gus, meanwhile, is depressed by the thought that he'll die before he can accomplish something great in his life. 与此同时，古斯认为他将在他生命中完成伟大的事之前过世，他因为这个想法而感到沮丧。本句 thought 后面的 that 也是名词子句，其后接一完整句子，作为 thought 的同位语，说明是怎样的想法。我们看到全文的最后一句In the end, though, both Gus and Hazel accept the certainty of death and try to get the most out of life while they still can. 但在故事的结尾，古斯和海瑟都接受死亡的必然，也试图在他们还能好好享受人生的时候，好好享受人生。片语 get the most out of something 是充分利用的意思，相当于 make the most of something。例如The date of the college entrance exam is approaching, so we have to make the most of our limited time. 大学入学考试的日期正在靠近，所以我们应该要充分利用我们有限的时间。以上就是今天的课程，谢谢大家收听。
That's it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you not only learned something from our explanations, but you've also been inspired to read our featured novel yourself, The Fault in Our Stars. Thanks again for joining us. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.